Four winners in our last 5 shows and a sneak collab on Monday Night Football. We are hot, but we are faced with some challenges with Thursday Night Football. It's Panthers versus Bears, but we're going to make something of it. This is the Player Profiler Pick Em Hour, powered by Underdog, starting now. Welcome back to the Player Profiler Pick Em Hour. We are your hosts, Ahaan Rungta, Trevor Tipton. We're coming off a nice little Week 9. We're going to talk Week 10. We're going to help you navigate this Panthers versus Bears, much anticipated Bryce Young versus Tyson Bagent matchup. But before that, let's talk a little bit about Week 9, especially when we're coming off a couple winners. We got to talk a little about it. I came through back-to-back weeks. It's about time I started getting hot. Came through with Jalen Hurts. Shout out to the Cowboys for tackling DeAndre Swift when it looked like he was open for a touchdown. Next play, Jalen Hurts punches it in, and Logan Thomas, a generational sweat. But I called this. I said I like the Commanders this week. I know how bad my Patriots are, and it showed. They can't do many things right, and it's not going to be the last time that I fade the Patriots in some way. And we get them in quote unquote prime time on Sunday morning. So looking forward to that. And if you were following along with Jason Elwine's thread on the Player Profiler Twitter, we snuck a little collab in for Monday Night Football with Cameron Dicker and Garrett Wilson. That was also a sweat, but we got a fourth quarter cash as well. Overall, Week 9 slate wise, Trevor, give me a takeaway.
Yeah, it was interesting. Obviously, the Giants are done, right? Daniel Jones is done. Miami's in trouble in the playoffs. They're just not going to be able to stop teams defensively. As good as that offense is, it's going to be interesting. Everybody knows Achan's coming back in my leagues that aren't high stakes, like per se, that I'm where that we're on ESPN or stuff. I got people trying to trade me for him. Like, I know he's coming back. I'm not trading. I'm like waiting patiently for him to come back. But their defense is going to be a problem. It's just come playoff time. I don't think they're going to get it done. CJ Stroud is the truth. I'm kicking myself for not going. It was them or the Saints. We both like to say. I mean, the Saints had the nut matchup. They just didn't get done for us on the show. But if you are Carolina, do you just walk into the a room, bang your head against the wall every day that you have Bryce Young instead of CJ Stroud? That's probably happens to some people.
Yeah, and for me, I got the best of both worlds with that Tampa Bay Houston game, because if you follow along my articles for game picks during the middle of the week, I had the Buccaneers +3 on the spread. We hit that, and we got a legacy game from CJ Stroud. So I got the best of both worlds. Just a masterful performance. I don't know if you saw Baker Mayfield on the sideline when CJ threw that last touchdown, and Baker just went like, yeah, that's impressive on the sideline. It's good when the opponent, like a guy that doesn't give you a lot of credit too often, like Baker Mayfield. He's that kind of a character since college. He was giving out credit in the middle of the game, so good to see him ball out there. And I guess a little bit on the season-long entry side, David Montgomery is most likely back this week. Would be a great time for him to score a touchdown. To check off one on our entry. Zeke Elliott is just going to be what it is, right? Like we're going to probably get one more touchdown from him maybe a few weeks from now, and then have to sweat out needing to in the last 2 weeks, and maybe he does it. Putting the Patriots in the season-long entry once again for the 5th time, hand up. That was not the best idea. But the main takeaway here is that the Green Bay Packers are, to me personally, the most frustrating team in the NFL. And one of the reasons I had a lot of Jordan Love exposure in fantasy this year was, for fantasy purposes, you don't need a quarterback to be really, really good as a passer for them to be relevant. If they have a little bit of rushing and if they have a lot of good weapons, you want that touchdown upside. And through the first couple of weeks, that exactly looked the case because I was like, well, Christian Watson, elite player, went on the field. Jaden Reed, good football player. Luke Musgrave, good football player. And Aaron Jones, obviously still a good football player. And I was right about all of that. And they're all good players when they play. But throwing hospital balls to Luke Musgrave is why he's gotten hit in the head twice. Christian Watson already has hamstring issues, which is just so unfortunate. He hasn't pieced together, a streak of games yet. But on top of that, he threw a hospital ball to Christian Watson last week. So I still think that if Christian Watson stays on the field the rest of the season, we still have a shot on these 6 touchdowns we need. We get a push with 5, but I still have hope just because when he's on the field, this man is so elite. And I want to shut down like all these tweets I'm getting about like what's up with Christian Watson? Like he scored 8 fantasy points or he had 1 catch. Like if you look at the efficiency metrics, this is a generational talent when on the field. And if you want to knock him for injuries and you want to say, well, that's an attribute in the NFL, like he needs to stay on the field. Sure, some of that is being thrown hospital balls. I mean, getting hit on the head is just hospital balls by Jordan Love. But this is a guy who's always open. And if you're a film guy, you could look at the film. He's always open. If you're an analytics guy, this is a guy who's he's winning routes left and right, and it's not his fault. And I want him to be freed. So that's my little Christian Watson rant. If you want to come at me for Christian Watson not performing in fantasy, go for it. But as soon as you start to say it's because he's not good at football, that's where I draw the line. So I'm done with that. But it's still good vibes from a successful week 9, and we're about to have even better vibes because it's the much anticipated Bryce Young versus Tyson Bagent matchup. Shout out Matt Babbage in the chat. I shed tears when Houston kneeled. I legitimately thought so. For context, Houston did not have a kicker in that game because Kaimi Fairbairn got hurt. Shout out Kaimi Fairbairn over on the 1.5 field goals was part of our underdog pick generator because of me. But he got hurt. I legitimately thought Houston was going to go for that because, I mean, the only reason you don't go for that is the potential fumble return for 2 points, and then you're in some trouble. But I legitimately thought they were going to go for that, and I didn't want to because I believe in CJ Stroud, and I thought he would have gotten those 2 extra points. So, yes, shout out to them for kneeling. Shout out to Chef. What's up, Jens? Dig the hat, Trevor. What hat is that, Trevor?
Travis Matthew.
Okay, there we go. So if you are hearing this on a podcast, you do want to see Trevor's cool hats and his colorful shirts and his lighting that's better than mine. You should join us on stream on Facebook and YouTube, and we do the bonus shows on Fridays where we talk about the Sunday slate. But we're about to talk some Week 10, and if you want to know more about the Sunday slate, as early as this week, obviously you know where to find all our player profiler stuff, but specifically Saturday night, The Dominator is a show on Player Profiler. It's on YouTube and Facebook streaming, where you can ask lineup questions for your fantasy team to Billy Moosey and Bradley Stalter. The show runs at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday night. And Billy, we all know he's the man in many respects, internally and externally for the company. He's finished first overall in the Fantasy Pros ranking contest, so he definitely knows what's up. And Bradley is up high this season and a top ranker himself this season. And those are the 2 guys you can ask your start sit questions to if you have those. We're about to get into Week 10. Week 10, Thursday Night Football. So a little preview of this Panthers versus Bears game. And I'm not going to mess around with the sound effects. We know how that goes on the show. Trevor's given us the perfect sound effect, which is the vomiting. So we didn't get pick'ems on this board until recently for the Bears because we had some questions about Justin Fields possibly returning. We know now Tyson Bagent is starting, and shout out to him for the rushing yards in Week 9, where he just went crazy on the ground against the Saints. I was on his rushing yards, and this week. We're gonna have to figure out how he's going to attack the Panthers. So Trevor, take it away. How are we attacking this game?
Pass. like can we hit a reset button and just not have this game be here? As you guys know, Carolina's defense is strong in the pass game. They are a sieve to running backs. Unfortunately, as you see right now, we do not have any plays available besides touchdowns from Khalil or Foreman. And at the time of this show, that's what we're dealing with. So we will not be attacking the rushing yards. Now, what are we going to attack? One of the things I've actually liked, because again, these came up just like an hour ago, is we're just going to go tried and true. Carolina literally has one of the best pass defenses in the NFL. The Jets, Browns, and Cowboys have given up less yards than them, and we're just going to go to DJ Moore here. I get Tyson's thrown to Mooney here some. Mooney's not getting open in this game. If you're curious, go watch Mooney's 22 film from last year, and you will understand why he's not going to get open in this game. And I had a lot of Mooney. He's just not the guy we thought he was going to be. In this game, to move the ball, they're going to need DJ Moore. He's been right around this line the last few weeks, especially because you've seen Mooney's, last week Mooney had, I think, 5 receptions. So they've used him while they were, trying to blanket DJ. But in this spot, them getting after him, they need to move the ball down the field. They're going to go after DJ Moore. One of the things I also like is this was 51.5. It went up to 52. Mooney's yards went up. Komet's yards went up. So I like seeing that. And most importantly, who are they playing? They are playing the Panthers. I think DJ Moore is going to want to have a big game. I think they're going to want to try to get him the ball in this spot. He is still the number 1 wide receiver on the team by a significant amount. He has a 12.6 ADOT. More importantly, he's still getting 43% of the air yards. He's going to get it. I get he's just had median weeks here. But if you give a guy 61 targets who has a catch rate of 77% versus Darnell Mooney's like 60, again, against this secondary, that matters, right? There's some secondaries they can play against. That's not as big a deal. It's going to matter in this one. And the cool part where I like this is Moore's also getting 12.5 yards per target. So if you're going to give me that with a guy that has double the yak anybody on the team, right? We've seen DJ Moore. We know who he is. We know he's a wide receiver 1. He has the ability to break this at any time. Mooney, Komet, none of those other players, I think, have that upside. So let's get it locked in because I actually think it's going to move up. I think it's going to close around 55.5. So I will turn that over because this game is going to be interesting.
And I definitely assigned you the harder task here because there was actually one play in this game that I actually liked, right? Like if it wasn't primetime, I would still like it and want to go after it. But I didn't really have anything that I would put my nuts on the table for the Bears side. So I gave you the harder task of taking the Bears. But when we got these pick-ems, I think we were on the same page. This is a classic case of don't overthink it. It's DJ Moore in a revenge spot. I know he hasn't hit this in the last few games, but there's a reason the line is set this high. Also, I think there's something to be said if you're one of those that reads Vegas lines a little bit. The Vegas line for this game is 39.5, and primetime unders have been wagon for a few years now, and they're 23-7 this season. But I feel like that trend has to end at some point, right? Because the public is starting to go a little more as the season progresses. The public is starting to lean more towards unders, and we saw actually the majority of the tickets for Chargers versus Jets were on unders, on the under on the full game, right? So eventually you're going to see some primetime overs, and this feels like a perfect spot. Yes, it's two offenses that nobody wants to trust, but it's two defenses that you shouldn't trust either, right? So I feel like this is maybe a game where we sneakily get, relative to standard, a shootout. So, and I think if that happens, DJ Moore has to be the one eating. So I like that a lot. But the one pick I actually do like a lot in this game is we're going after Chuba Hubbard. So the Miles Sanders experience, it is what it is now. The man's not that good at football. Last year he said, don't draft me in fantasy. He should have said that this year because this guy is an absolute, fantasy bust, and Chuba Hubbard is just better than him. And with Miles Sanders, in and out of the equation the last few weeks, a couple weeks ago, he was inactive. Last week, he actually got 6 carries and did fine on those touches. But something stayed constant through these last 3 weeks, which is Chuba Hubbard's route participation has been above 70% in each of these games. His role is fixed now. He's going to run those routes, and he's going to be the guy for checkdowns. I've lost 2 yards on this already. It was 14.5 in the morning, but I still like it at 16.5 because some of these numbers by running backs against the Bears are just gaudy. Austin Eckler in their most recent game, 94 receiving yards to lead the game against the Bears. Go back to week 1. Aaron Jones had 86 receiving yards. Alvin Kamara had 44. Brian Robinson, who we've advertised a lot, is not a great pass catching back, had 33. Jaleel McLaughlin, 32. Rashad White, our boy, 30 receiving yards. Alexander Madison, 28 receiving yards. Jerick McKinnon, 19 receiving yards. So this receiving yards over has been an absolute wagon against the Bears, and I'm just going to take it again because the guy's role is fixed. I think regardless of game script, we're going to see Chuba get some action, and Bryce Young have to drop back and pass a little bit, regardless of game script. So let's lock it in now before it goes to 17.5 for half the unit. There's our two-piece. DJ Moore, higher than 52.5 receiving yards. Chuba Hubbard, higher than 16.5 receiving yards, and we're in.
So the other thing that I actually think helps this is the newly acquired Montez Sweat that they just traded for because they traded away Khalil Mack. So remember that. This is a team that had Khalil Mack, and now they're trying to replace him. And they brought a guy on that has that ability. Sweat's going to get after Young, which should lead to some extra checkdowns, I think, in this game for him.
Yeah, I love it. There's a great point, and I don't necessarily want to get into the details of how much I dislike or like the fact that they extended him for the value that they did. And Montez Sweat might not even be the best Sweat, but it is what it is, and they have added that to their defense. So Bryce Young, if he wants to not throw 2 touchdowns to Kenny Moore or to a cornerback again like he did last week, he's going to have to take those checkdowns. So we like that. Matt Babish talking in the chat about, I believe this is Christian Watson, 2.13 target quality rating, 50. I wish you hadn't, we don't. This is a caption of my pain this year. I wish you hadn't typed that out. Shout out to Dare Ogunbowale, making history there. First regular season field goal made by a non-kicker since Wes Welker. Shout out to him. Matt says Badgett with some sneaky, decent accuracy metrics that's going to translate to with DJ Moore. Absolutely, that's their number one right there. And you know me, and you know Trevor. We both of us are sickos. That's why we have good chemistry on the show, right? We're both sickos. We're advertising that we don't want exposure in this game. But we know Thursday evening we're going to look at the pick and board again, maybe put in a little 5 pick on underdog and drop a slip or 2 in the Discord. And if you want to tail that, you can join us. Promo code Underworld upon entry for underdog. Trevor, I'm excited for this Week 10 Sunday slate because I actually think this is one of the better slates. Eagles on bye, Chiefs on bye, and still we have a lot of good game scripts potentially, especially for player pick'ems, because we got some close spreads. We got some high totals, which we haven't seen in a few weeks. So definitely we got a couple of days to lab for that. But before that, let's hope we've come up with another winner. Let's continue the hot streak. It would be, it would be something if we came up with a winner out of this game. And I think we found it. But until then, we'll see you on Friday for the bonus show. Let's hope we can come up with more winners. Let's continue a streak. We'll see you in 2 days.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.